balancing innovation and safety. In today's fast-paced world of biotechnology and artificial intelligence, the pressure to deliver medical breakthroughs swiftly has never been greater. From gene therapies and mRNA vaccines to AI-driven diagnostics, we are living in an era of unprecedented medical innovation. The global response to COVID-19 demonstrated how swiftly science can move when urgency drives action. However, amidst this acceleration, an essential question looms. At what cost does speed come? While fast-tracking, life-saving treatments is often justified, we must be mindful that regulatory oversight is not a barrier to progress. It is the backbone of public trust and patient safety. This documentary explores the critical balance between innovation and safety, using real-world examples and historical precedents to underscore why regulatory guardrails remain vital, even and especially in an age of rapid progress. Over the last several years, regulatory agencies around the world have introduced efficient mechanisms to expedite drug development and approval. In the United States, the Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, employs several such programs including Fast Track, Breakthrough Therapy, Accelerated Approval, and Priority Review. These programs are designed to bring promising treatments to patients with serious conditions more quickly. During COVID-19 pandemic, the emergency use authorization pathway enabled rapid deployment of vaccines and therapeutics. This demonstrated how regulatory flexibility can save lives when used responsibly. However, it also revealed gaps, such as uneven post-market surveillance and public confusion over efficacy standards. The use of artificial intelligence in drug discovery and adaptive clinical trials has further compressed timelines. Yet, while these tools enhance efficiency, they also raise concerns about transparency, bias in training data, and over-reliance on predictive models. Several historical events remind us that when regulatory processes are bypassed or weakened, it's the patients who suffer. For example, in the 1960s, thalidomide was marketed as a sedative and anti-nausea drug for pregnant women in Europe. Thalidomide caused over 10,000 birth defects before it was withdrawn. The tragedy was largely avoided in the US thanks to FDA reviewer Dr. Francis Kelsey, who insisted on more data before approval. In the late 1990s, Vioxx was approved for pain and arthritis, but it was later withdrawn after studies linked it to an increased risk of heart attacks and strokes. Over 27,000 deaths were estimated to be associated with the drug before it was pulled from the market. In 2021, Aduhelm was FDA approved for treatment of Alzheimer's disease under the accelerated approval pathway, despite weak clinical evidence of efficacy. The decision drew internal criticism, resignations from advisory committee members, and widespread debate and concerns about the lowering of standards for approval. We have to always keep in mind that behind every safety lapse is a patient or family impacted. In recent years, several gene therapy trials were halted due to patient deaths linked to adverse events post-approval or during the phase trials. While these incidents are sometimes inevitable in cutting-edge research, they also reflect the importance of robust data and longer-term monitoring before widespread rollout. While much of the public discussion on accelerated approvals focuses on the risks, several groundbreaking therapies have successfully used expedited pathways without compromising scientific rigor. For example, imatinib, also known as Gleevec, was approved for chronic myeloid leukemia. This was one of the earliest poster children for targeted cancer therapy. Gleevec was granted priority review by the FDA and approved in less than 3 months in 2001. It was backed by robust phase 2 and 3 trial data showing dramatic responses in patients with Philadelphia chromosome-positive CML. The drug transformed what was once a fatal disease into a manageable chronic condition with a survival rate over 90%. Another example was trastuzumab, also known as Herceptin, approved for the treatment of HER2-positive breast cancer. Herceptin received fast-track designation and priority review in 1998 due to its clear survival benefits in HER2-positive breast cancer. FDA approval followed a large, randomized, controlled trial, and post-approval studies continue to confirm its long-term safety and efficacy. It's now a standard of care and a model for targeted therapies. Nusinersen, also known as Spinraza, was approved for spinal muscular atrophy or SMA in 2016 under the priority review and fast-track programs. SMA is a rare, fatal genetic disease in infants. The approval was based on strong interim results from a rigorous phase 3 trial showing dramatic improvements in motor milestones. Post-marketing surveillance has confirmed its benefit, and it remains a standard of care in SMA. Pembrolizumab, or Keytruda, an immunotherapy, was approved under the accelerated pathway for melanoma and later other cancers based on solid early evidence. Keytruda's early access was followed by confirmatory trials across a wide range of indications. It now holds regular approvals in over 15 cancer types, illustrating how robust post-approval commitments can validate early access decisions. These examples show that expedited approvals can succeed when built on meaningful clinical endpoints, well-designed trials, transparent data, and rigorous post-market monitoring. Such successes make it clear that the issue isn't speed itself, it's the speed without following proper structure of regulatory process. Lately, there is a dangerous narrative gaining ground that regulations are red tape slowing down innovation. This is a dangerous narrative and myth. Regulations are what enable confidence among physicians, payers, and patients that a drug is both effective and safe. In fact, regulatory clarity can accelerate innovation. When expectations are clearly communicated and standards are rigorously applied, companies can align development strategies accordingly. This leads to smarter trial designs, better risk mitigation, and ultimately better products. Furthermore, as AI systems begin to influence clinical trial designs and regulatory decisions, human oversight becomes more, not less essential. Algorithms can crunch data, but they cannot account for ethical nuance, patient experience, or the long-term negative impacts of incomplete data. Therefore, rather than reducing oversight, the solution lies in adapting it. Here are some proposed directions. Enhance speed while maintaining appropriate human clinical judgment. Strengthened post-marketing surveillance systems to capture long-term safety data. Transparent data sharing platforms for public access to clinical results, enabling independent scrutiny. Investment in regulatory workforce modernization, ensuring agencies have the skills and tools to evaluate complex therapies and AI-driven products. Progress and protection must coexist. There is no denying the urgency of bringing new treatments to patients, especially in rare or life-threatening diseases. But urgency must never overshadow diligence. History has shown us the cost of rushing, not just in dollars, but in lives. True innovation is not just about speed. It is about delivering value without compromising safety. Regulations, when applied wisely and transparently, are not obstacles to innovation. They are what keep it grounded, credible, and centered on human well-being. As we step deeper into an age of biomedical marvels, let us not forget the lessons written in the lives of those who paid the price of unchecked speed and lack of oversight. In medicine, as in life, the fastest path is not always the safest one. When lives are at stake, the fastest path must also be the safest one. Let's build a future where science moves fast, but never blindly. Progress with trust is progress that lasts. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing to stay updated on future episodes.